gets us in a little different topic. Since God is already present everywhere, I don't see why it is important for people to worship in a church, and especially to believe that God is present in the host at communion. Can you help me understand this?
Well, it's a big question. God is everywhere, but in a capacity that, because God is in a community of persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, because he's in a community, he expects us to be in a community. Remember, when God calls Abraham, he calls him as an individual only to create a community. I will make you the father of the nations. When God calls Moses, he calls Moses so that Moses can lead the faithful, the community of Israel. He rarely calls an individual, says, I'm going to call just you and leave you alone. Yeah. So he calls it always be in a community of faith. And so, though we individually believe in God, we're called to be in that community of faith. And where does the community of faith gather? But in a building. So we need some place for the community of faith to gather. And so we gather there to worship God, who is especially manifested in that very unique, substantial way in and through the sacred species of the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ, under the species of bread and wine.
This also gets us back a little bit to this issue of devotion through visible, physical things, because behind this man's question, I think, is running rampant in our America, that religion is nothing more than a spiritual thing. It doesn't connect physicalness.
Right.
The buildings, the things, and all that, even our bodies, are irrelevant. It's a spiritual, mental faith that I have with God. Doesn't matter where I am, I have that. Whereas, in fact, through blessings, sacraments, sacramentals, through the incarnation, our faith recognizes the importance of the physicality of our faith.
Oh, we have to. We are physical things. We touch things. We're tactile, And so we need those physical things to move us and to shape us and form us, and to see the beauty of those things. Behind us is this beautiful image of St. Peter's Basilica. And I love to take pilgrimage groups there, but when I take pilgrimage groups there, I always get in front of them so that I can watch their facial expressions when they walk into that place. Because when you see something so grand and glorious that's built to the honor and glory of God, there's that awe. And that's what churches are supposed to do. Especially, my friend and I recently went to the Grand Canyon. And when you walk to the Grand Canyon, you go, you see the glory of God. Now, we celebrate Mass right there on the rim of the Grand Canyon. It was glorious. But you can't put 700 people in the rim of the Grand Canyon, they'll fall in. Yeah. So you need a building to do that in.
But the Grand Canyon, some people could stand there in great awe and say, isn't it absolutely amazing which the natural processes of nature can accomplish over 1 million years? Well, there's one way to look at life that way,
yes.
Or there's another to recognize that behind it is this loving touch of God, which I heard all through your story. Even when a little man,
yes.
You were seeing the act of God. That makes all the difference to life.
It does. Yes, God's providential hand, leading, guiding, directing, and steering. He led the Colorado River and shaped the Colorado River and steered the Colorado River through there to say, I need you to move this way now, I need you to move that way now, I need you to move that way now, to make that magnificent hole in the ground. It wasn't, we can say it was nature, but God
again, there's that both and.
That's
God
right.
Using nature, but in the end, even the little call of a bird is to help us fall on our knees in gratitude to this great, infinite love of God, God for us. Dave from Washington, D.C. writes an email. My daughter, a former Catholic, asks why the Catholic Church has so many different levels of leadership, like priests and nuns, bishops, and then even the Pope. How can I make her see that this structure is important?
Well, much like what we were talking about earlier with this Free Will Baptist minister came into my house. He didn't have anyone to answer to when he made that terrible faux pas 40 years ago. There was no one above him to correct that. I answer to someone. I answer to my Archbishop. And if I make some grievous error or I teach some heretical thing, he can call me a carpet and say, no, no, no. And if I do something horrible, he can remove me from my office. And as a bishop, as we've seen recently with a couple of bishops gone astray, one that in Germany built a $40 million mansion, that's wrong. And so the Pope can then say, oh, no, no, Bishop, no, no, no. come back. We can pull the reins in. Like any good structural thing, it needs to have levels that are answerable to others. And ultimately, the Pope answers to the College of Cardinals and to God himself. And so we have that because God gave that to us, first of all. It's a divine revealed thing. It just didn't magically appear. So we have that to help guide and direct and sustain us. We're not one-man ships here. Huh? We're not just one person.
Well, you wouldn't even have gotten ordained a priest if there wasn't the structure that you had to be willing to be a part of, to accept the authority of the church, guided by the Holy Spirit.
Right. The call has come from me, manifest in the church, confirmed by the church through the hands of the bishop, in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not
from God also.
So that men can have power over others. It's so that, as I forget which was the first pope to say, maybe it was Gregory, the servant of servants. I mean,
servant God.
It's flipped upside down. It's an issue of servanthood, not of power.
And that's why priests and deacons at their ordination and men and women religious at their final vows lay prostrate on the ground. They lay down their life so that God can take it up again. Huh?